What's going on, guys? BMP back with another bad movie review this week on Transmorphers Fall of Man. That's right, the longer-rated prequel to Transmorphers that we covered last week. So we're going to jump right into the premise. The premise is that this is the story that we were told at the very beginning of Transmorphers. So the 5-minute intro that they said they found the signal. 5 years later, the planet was invaded. This is the story that we get. It starts in 2009. But the story is a little different than we were made to believe. It seemed like a whole big chunk happened first before we even found out about the invasion. So the story follows Jake.
From State Farm?
Yes, Jake from State Farm. The story follows Jake, and he is a war veteran. He just got back a couple of months ago from when the story picks up. And Madison, you can tell, was possibly an old flame of his. And now that they see each other, things are a little bit awkward or tense. So the movie really kicks off with Officer Hadley Ryan, who you find out is actually Madison's uncle. He pulls a girl over for speeding. Not for speeding, for being on her phone. But he's polite. He doesn't give her a ticket. He just, warns her. It's actually, we get a very nice PSA at the very beginning of this movie.
Talking on a cell phone driving is dangerous. You just be careful. Whatever conversation you have to have can wait till you get home safely. All right?
Yes, officer.
So he doesn't give her a ticket. He just warns her. And as she drives off, her phone is on her passenger seat. And this happens.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the phone turned into a robot.
Just like that.
I don't get it.
I mean, no explanation behind it. It's just, hey.
Yeah, that was really jarring. Like, we actually paused the movie. All three of us just paused the movie because we were like, wait, what just happened? Because we were never made to believe, again, now this is a prequel to the movie we watched last week. We were never made to believe that the robots were already here on Earth.
Or even transmorphed like that.
We were told that they were an alien robot, and then we saw that they were like biomechanical. We were never told once that real life objects like a toaster and later on a GPS could just become a robot out of nowhere. Yeah,
they really retconned a lot of this movie, which I guess was, it was okay for them to do because it was made to be a story that happened before the original, so they could really do whatever they want with it because we already know the planet gets invaded and, humans are run underground. Like, we already know the end point, so they could pretty much do whatever they wanted with the beginning.
So the lady who was driving the car, obviously, the little cell phone robot shoots her with their little laser beams, and the laser goes right into her head, kills her. So later on, the doctor or the coroner is examining her, and that police officer who stopped her earlier was there, and the doctor's talking about how she got a bullet wound to her head.
That impact wound, is that from a pencil or pen?
Could be a bullet.
And the police officer literally turns around and goes,
It's not a gunshot.
Why'd you say that?
The entry wound. It's cauterized.
And I'm just like, well, you're the damn coroner. How did you not know the difference between a bullet wound or a burn mark on the freaking forehead here?
Yeah, that whole scene really was like Officer Ryan was the one doing the whole examination of the body. Like, he did all the work.
He knew everything.
One thing this movie I think did very well was the build up to getting to the inevitable reveal of the robots. But I think the build up was pretty good. It kept you entertained going along, and it was a slow burn. We get the girl's cell phone at the very beginning, and then we get a scene where this kid is driving his truck and his SUV, and he's using GPS. And it starts off normal. You are now entering whatever, make a left turn here. But then, of course, you find out that the GPS and the car as a whole is actually a robot. But very polite. very, very polite.
You have 5 seconds to exit the vehicle.
Whoa, what'd you just say?
This is your last warning. Exit the vehicle now.
He got the robot gave him at least 3 different chances to get out of the car to like save his life, but because he didn't understand what was going on, he ended up getting killed for it.
Prepare to be eliminated.
For reals?
3, 2,
Are you
1.
kidding me? Wait!
Throughout this movie, you could definitely tell it was a, I mean, in my opinion at least, it was a better like movie.
It seemed more like a movie.
Yeah,
It
it
seemed
was
more complete.
It was paced more like a regular movie. It was, you know, it seemed directed better, like more like a regular movie than the last one.
We had no split screens.
There were no dreaded split. My God, get those off my screen. We end up, you know, it ends up being this snowball effect of everyone grouping up together. So Jake and Madison were together. Then her uncle Hadley, who's Officer Ryan, shows up. They end up getting picked up by these NSA agents who were looking into the signal that came from space. And when they're all at this, I guess it's like an NSA like site. That's where the satellite was and the tower that caught the signal. And the robots attack there as well. So there's this big, and it seemed like a final battle. Like we had the big battle, we had the cool down, we had the fade out. We even got the conclusion. Like Madison ended up narrating the conclusion after that, but there was still 30 minutes left of the movie. But in that fight with the robot, they're trying to prevent it from getting to the tower to send the signal, because they kind of figure out that what these little robots are doing on Earth, and this one big one, is that they're trying to set up or prep the planet for an inevitable invasion. And stopping it from sending a signal would stop the invasion. Hadley decides that the attack helicopter is the best route to destroy the robot, which he's right, but the weaponry on it doesn't work, so he decides smash right into it. Yeah, and that was, I mean, you kind of felt like it was coming, but
Yeah.
but then the way it played out, of course, just, you know, didn't play out the way you thought it would.
Oh no. It was...
I have a couple of questions about the next part. So we fast forward after he blows himself up and everything. And this is right before the invasion. Madison already narrates her thing. But they make it seem as though it's like maybe like a week afterwards, when it's actually been, from their canon from the first movie, like 5 years.
Right, and that's the thing. We don't actually know if they had a time jump after that battle, because we know the movie takes place in 2009, but we know the invasion happens in 2014. But they never state if there's a 5-year time jump. And the way the characters act, it seems like there's not.
There was like no time at all. Like, you didn't know when anything was going on to begin with.
No, the only reason we knew is because we're trying to go off the information that the first movie gave us.
Right.
But they didn't state if there was a time jump or anything, you know? But the way the characters acted seemed like it was, like you said, Chris, like it was only like probably a week.
Right after the aliens start attacking Earth, and they're running off into the distance, run into them, and she's like,
Hey, talk to me, Joe. What the hell's going on? I thought we had these things beat.
Well, apparently not.
Well, what is that supposed to mean?
exactly what I meant, just like in the first movie. It's what we thought. We don't know. Makes me want to quit.
As the invasion is actually happening now, we see all the robots crashing onto the planet and attacking. Jake, Madison, and Joe are saved by, I believe he was the mayor?
Mm-hmm.
He was the mayor?
Yeah.
So he's saved by the mayor. Now, throughout the movie, at least 2 or 3 parts, people ask him about Amy, who's his daughter. You know, how's your daughter doing? How's everything?
How's Amy?
How's your niece doing?
And he keeps mentioning,
They had to put a pacemaker in her, like an old man. Can you believe that? Technology today is amazing. She's only 23, you know.
You know, they mentioned the first time. Personally, I figured it was just small talk because it was the very beginning of the movie, so we're just learning who these characters are. But then they mentioned it again, like way later on. I'm like, no, there has to be a reason why they keep mentioning this. And I was like, damn, the pacemaker is going to be a robot. Guess what? The pacemaker was a robot. And yeah, so they meet up with the mayor, and he brings them to like this little hideout, like in a field. And he says, like, you know, the robots don't come out this far, like, we'll be safe. And his daughter's on a cot, and all of a sudden she starts convulsing, and the pacemaker pops out of her chest like this is alien, like a xenomorph. If that wasn't bad enough, one of the other guys that was part of this little hideout just completely empties a whole clip into this poor girl. I mean, yeah, she's already dead now because her chest is blown open, but he empties a whole clip into her just to kill this pacemaker robot, and only kills it on the very last bullet. Now, if the pacemaker robot busting out of the chest wasn't bad enough, and if this guy emptying a whole clip into a dead body wasn't bad enough, the mayor, whose daughter just got obliterated, has zero reaction. Completely numb to the whole situation. And I just don't know why, like, they do that. And it's like, if you're gonna cut to the guy,
Older.
make him have some kind of reaction to it, or just don't show him at all. Just show the scene, shock value, move on. But if you're gonna show him, you have to give emotion.
It also doesn't explain afterwards when they all leave together the missing cast member, as Chris pointed out.
Yeah,
That one left with the group and never reappeared.
There was a guy that went with them, and we see him at the first scene when they're all walking out in the desert, and he never appears again.
Yeah, because they said it. Oh, look, a group of 7. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're walking in the desert, and then what happened to it?
Maybe it was cut. It was left on the cutting room floor, although this whole movie looks like it should have been left on the cutting room floor. But maybe that specific scene was just left out, like where he dies or something, but it didn't. I felt like I missed something. So at one point, they're all traveling. I don't know what was it, through this rig.
They were trying to make their way to a factory that the robots were now using to create more robots. So they were working their way towards there.
Right.
Originally, I'm sorry, they were working their way to the aqueduct because they got word that the robots were putting something in the water supply.
Oh, okay. All right. So as they're on their way to the aqueduct, they meet this like remaining soldier from a platoon that was supposed to be taking out the robots. And he gives this gem of a line. Absolute gem.
The Russians captured one. They tortured it till it revealed its memory codes.
So based on his information, we're supposed to believe that the robots can not only feel pain, but that they could physically be tortured enough to give up information about their invasion.
So I'm actually glad you brought up that guy, Chris, because one, we never learn his name. So apparently that's a bad habit that they carried over to the next movie. We never learn his name, but we do know what he was doing. He was part of a strike force to take out the robots. And then he explains to them how there's this factory, and this is what I was saying earlier, a factory that the robots were now using to mass produce more robots. So the new plan is to go there and destroy it. And, you know, I mean, the way he talks, like he even says, like, the building is rigged with C4s, someone has to detonate it. And he says, any volunteers? So the way he speaks shows that he really doesn't want to get his hands dirty. He doesn't want to put his life on the line. Like he's done. But then to cause a distraction, he said he has a plan, and his plan apparently was to just drive right up to the robots, cause them to get distracted by him, and then when one looks in the window, he pulls a gun on it and fires, and it's empty.
How's it going?
And it's like, this was your plan. Why didn't you check if the gun was loaded? You know, like, I mean, it's probably going to sound like a bad pun because he was out of ammo, but he shot himself in the foot. So then what happens? He dies. And it just seemed totally pointless. The whole thing seemed pointless. So after this very intelligent man gets himself killed for absolutely no reason, Jake finds the C4 detonator, and of course, right before he's able to do anything with it, the mayor gets killed. No! Then Jake, well, you'd think Jake's going to sacrifice himself to detonate the C4. Madison and Joe leave. Boom, 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 big explosion. Factory gets destroyed. Jake ends up surviving.
Because of course he does.
Of course he does. And the movie ends on as happy a note as it possibly can. Jake and Madison survive, and Jake ends up becoming the leader of the human resistance. And if you really paid close attention to one small line of dialogue that Jake had, his last name is Van Ryberg, which is the same last name as one of the commanders in the original. So you could obviously assume, if you knew that piece of information, that he would survive, because he's at this point probably the great-great-great-grandfather of that character from the first movie. So Jake ends up leading the resistance, and the movie ends with him putting out like a message to the world that he's forming the resistance and he wants them to join so they can fight back. The reason that the humans are forced underground actually really had nothing to do with the robots. It actually had to do with Jake, because he said
destroying the terraforming plants released a toxic cloud of gas. All around the planet, people have begun to move underground to escape the poison.
So that's about it. After his message, the credits roll, so we can jump right into the
Thank
ratings.
God.
Matt, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to give this movie a B. Because it was better than the one we watched yesterday. There was a lot more to it than just battling, and I give it more of the storyline to it that I enjoyed about it, that you learned all this. Were there a lot of plot holes going into the other movie? Yeah, but I accept it.
Chris, what do you got?
I'm going to give it a B. Only because the story was cohesive enough by itself to seem like a legitimate movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a B too. For the first half hour of the movie, I was debating to actually give it an A. Like, if the movie was just that first half hour, it probably would have gotten an A from me, because it like you even said, it was very cohesive. It was very well thought out. The acting wasn't really terrible. It seemed like a pretty decent story. And it really seemed like a completely different story than what we got from the first one. You know, like a different movie altogether. But then as the movie went on and dragged out a little bit more, you saw its flaws. But I will definitely give it a solid B. Solid B. So that's our review on Transmorphers Fall of Man. We're finally done with that little mini franchise. But we are staying in the Transformers ripoff category. And next week we're checking out Hornet.
And wait to see what that is.
Yep. Can't even imagine what standalone movie that would be based off of. I got nothing.
Me neither. It's obviously not a Transformer.
So if you enjoyed this video, give us a like. Share the video with your friends. If you end up catching this movie, comment down below what you thought of it, or what other movies you want us to check out, because we're open to suggestions. And of course, subscribe to catch more of these reviews every week. As always, guys, I'm Anthony.
All right.
Chris.
And we'll see you later.